In this lesson, we'll bring our structural scenes onto our sheet. All right, so got all our scenes taken care of here in our previous lesson. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that we can actually bring into our sheet here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back to layout. And in this case, I'm going to go insert. So I'm going to say file, insert, and I'm looking for structural plans here. I'm going to bring in my structural plans. So this will be our first detail. Nice. Very pretty much our last view we created. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of shrink this down a bit. And you got to remember, I'm trying to bring in 5. So I may want 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 on bottom. So I can actually place this on bottom here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my SketchUp model. I'm going to Control C, Control V. We'll bring this up, and this will be right above. This will be our top lateral bracing detail. So while this is highlighted, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say lateral bracing top. Perfect. And we can adjust the scale a little bit later. So I'm going to Control C, Control V. Once that goes, we'll go ahead and bring this over. And this one here will actually be of our overall lateral bracing system. Again, I may need to actually shrink some of these down. But we can get to that point once we get whatever we need on here. So I'm going to say lateral bracing. Kind of give you my overall view here. So now I'm just going to kind of move some things around here. This will be my top. This will be my bottom. This will kind of be my overall. I'm going to try to center this in there best I can. Oh, perfect. I like the way that worked. And now I'm going to go ahead and bring in another one. So we'll go ahead and grab this one. We'll say Control C, Control V. And I may want to place my overall structure over here. So again, just click and drag, bring this one over. Go to my drop down for scenes, and I'm going to say overall structure. I need to see more. So I'll drag that out. And I'm going to go ahead and add another little connection detail right there. So we could probably grab any one of these and say Control C, Control V. And then, again, it takes just a little bit of time. So we'll click and drag and bring this one over. And then I'm going to go to the drop down and I'm going to say connection detail typical. Perfect. So now, all the thing we really need to do now is add text. And we know how to do that. But I'm going to go ahead and adjust the style on this a little bit. So we'll start off with this one. So this one we may actually need to see. Raster is probably going to be our best image, but I do want to adjust my style here. And let's go with shaded with textures. That way we keep our color, but we hide that background. So shaded with textures, you might not be able to see it there. I'm going to go back up a little higher here. Right click, styles, shaded with textures will be towards at the very bottom. And you see what that did. Perfect. I like the way that turns out. So much better without that background in the way. That can get a little confusing. This one we're going to go with styles. We're going to say we want this one to be a hidden line. And I'm going to go ahead and vector that so the line work comes in nice and dark. Perfect. I'm going to do the same thing for all these. So styles, looking for a hidden line. Go ahead and vector so the line work comes in darker. Same thing for the top here. And again, you don't have to do black and white details. You can have them color, But when it comes to details like this, I kind of like to do black and white. Nothing wrong with going with color, though. So again, we want to change our style again. Hidden line. Vector that. Do the same thing to the bottom, and then we can start applying some scale to these if we wanted to. So we'll, again, right-click, styles, hidden line, vector, and we are in business. So let's say we are at the point now we're in detail mode here, and we want to really see what's going on. So if I were to come in here, I can actually create labels and start calling things out. So if you remember, I talked about a little bit earlier about being meticulous about naming things and naming groups, because they'll appear a little bit later on in our project. Well, this is when it's going to happen. So go ahead and click on this label. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to call out what this lateral bracing is here. We're going to click on this, bring it up to the top, and just drop it off. And check this out. That component we use for tube steel, it gets called out right there. So I'm just going to click on that title. Now, if you feel like that's too small, get all your labels in, and then we can go back after the fact and edit our text like we already know how to do, like we did in our previous lessons. So let's add a couple more labels. I want to talk about this base plate here. And this is one I kind of custom made. And you see, actually, my gusset plate, I said base plate. We can even call out what it's attached to. So it'll be attached to this column, or this beam, excuse me. And we also have this column here. Perfect. Take a look at those details. Nice. So if I wanted to adjust or make any additional adjustments, I can do just that. So let's adjust that text. So I'm going to select all my labels here. Then we can come over here to, let me close these off. These get a little bit confusing here. So we'll go to text style. And what I want to do is I want to increase the size of that text. So the minute that size appears, I'm just going to type in or select the size that I want to work with. All right, just take a little minute for Sketchup to do some thinking here. So I'm going to play around with some sizes, and I want to see what's going to be easy to read from a distance here. Perfect. I'm going to go with this 26, actually. And that'll take care of that for me. So that's how we can get all our details in place, and we can create really cool looking details. So I'm going to show you one other thing we can do here, is we can actually do dimensions as well. So if we're in a view here, let's say in this view, I want to know exactly how far off the ground this is going to be. So I could see I need to make an adjustment to the view first. So I'm going to make a quick view adjustment. I'm going to right click and I'm going to deselect perspective. I shouldn't have done that. Actually go back to that again. Deselecting perspective pretty much threw us off there. So I really wouldn't recommend doing that. So let's go ahead and just get a better view inside of our model here. Oh, looks like I lost my view. That's okay. I'll just come back to my Sketchup model and I'll retrieve that view. So we'll say lateral bracing bottom. Perfect. Double click in there, adjust my view a little better. So now let's add some dimensions to this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my dimension tool, click on that, and now I can actually come in here and I can add dimensions. So I want to say, hey, this base plate is this distance. So I can actually click within this scene here and get my dimensions. Check that out. Nice stuff, huh? We can actually call out dimensions within these scenes. So I want to orbit around a little more in this view. And be careful when you do that, because it could actually affect some of your text and stuff. So, go back to that. Actually, go back to my SketchUp model. So it's really hard to actually orbit around in these views. But if you do, the good thing is we can always come back and reference that view once again. And you can see the benefit of being organized. But check this out, our dimensions stayed there. So I do want to go ahead and adjust the size of this. So let's see if we can adjust the size of that. So if I go to 16, 20 might be better. There we go. So you can add text, dimensions, you can add labels that actually call out all the information that's within all of your components. And again, just remember, we are in the conceptual phase here, so you might not have every nook and cranny detailed out at this point, but as a designer at this conceptual phase, we pretty much know what we want, and we want to be able to present this, get the okay, so that we can then go back, further develop this design, and then create construction documents to build off of. So I'm going to get some consistency here. I'm going to right click and change this style, and I'm going to go back to hidden line, just so everything's in its same style here. and we're in business. So what you can do, and I challenge you to do, is just go back and do some of the things that we did earlier with our scrapbooks. Go back and look for some titles that might work for you or a standard you may have, and go ahead and title these. Some of them might be to scale, some of them might be not to scale. And I think at this point you know how to take care of all that already. So let's take a look at what we have here. I'm going to go back over here. So we've got our basic architectural plans here, looking at the outside of the building and elevations. We know how to create perspectives, section perspectives, straight-on perspectives. We know how to work with floor plans and symbols to kind of talk about our design a little bit more. And we also know how to create these cool-looking and really easy to create structural plans so that I can really sell this concept and talk about some of those details. So again, I'm excited to be able to show you this. I hope you could take this and create some much better presentations than what we did here. We kept it pretty simple and straightforward and orthogonal for the most part. But I challenge you to go out there, sell your idea, come up with a cool concept, and come up with unique ways to present your ideas. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to helping you out in future SketchUp courses.